Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to Crypto Mindfulness with Whitney and the ladies. How are we all doing today, ladies? Hey, Sammy. We got Raquel, Hodprul. Thanks for making it. All right, let me tell you what we got in store today. Very exciting show. So we're going to be talking about going from a traditional job to crypto, unlocking your potential and reaching your crypto goals, having resolve as well as flexibility, the macro, the SEC case against Richard Hart, and what the future holds for pulsechain. Disclaimer, this is not mental health advice. We're just sharing our experiences. Hello to the chat. Hex enthusiasts, first off the gate. Thank you for being here. First out of the gate. DJ Creditus, great seeing you guys on the cruise as well. That was so much fun. How's everyone feeling?
Really good.
Feeling great today.
Halloween vibes.
Halloween. Oh my God, I love Halloween. My daughter, she loves it as well, which is like super cute. She's starting to watch all the Harry Potters. Some of those Harry Potters are M15 plus though. She's 6 and I'm like, okay, I draw the line at this Harry Potter. They started off like PG and then they just like creep into like M15 plus. I'm like, it's a bit like, and the graphics as well are just like super intense. We might just get straight into the first question and then, or should we start with the Hex Aussie cruise and just say how that went, Sammy?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. How are you, Class? Are you good?
Oh, so good, Sammy. The vibes were just like on point. The weather, the people, I just found my people. I came home and my voice was sore. I'm like, I've been chatting that much for like 2 days.
But you did chat a lot. I mean, it was hard to even get a word into you sometimes. Or we start a conversation and then it just gets sideswiped by someone else. But it was awesome to meet you and Doz. It was really cool.
We're such like chatties. Like Doz is like a permanent chatty, right? And at home, I'm actually, believe it or not, like I don't chat because at work I chat so much. So at home, I don't like, he'll tell you like I don't talk. And at work, I try not to talk, but I get asked a million questions. So yeah, it was kind of cool to find like-minded people. And I literally spent the whole time talking. I got a little video that Doz put together of the cruise. You guys want to see it?
Oh, yes.
Sure.
All right, here we go. It goes for 2 minutes.
Yo. Give thanks to the God that we all ate. T-Y-R-H. Hex flexing like all day. Yes. Best investment went all in. Whoa, yeah. And staking, we ballin'. Cop hexing, what's next? Stake stacks to the max. 4 5s and relax. Future me giving thanks. Lil Squid climb the ranks. Unstaking, restaking 80%. Owning my shit, I ain't paying no rent. Feel like a boss on the way to the bank. TYRH gotta give thanks. Attitude of gratitude is natural for a hexagon. Yes, hex flexing all thanks to him. After every dip we ascend, up into the right Peter trend. By the time it's why ratification delayed. Sticking letter got me heavily paid. Making cheddar every step of the way. Haters telling Mr. Scam, they just jealous, they ain't getting okay. So many wish they would've take a chance. Join me and take a leap of faith. They will be singing with me today. TYRH. Hex IQ test from the start. Those involved saw what I saw. Picture painted by Richard Hart. Only haters try shitting on. They lacking vision, ain't really smart. Hexagon's the best of men invested in hex. Just look at the chart. Haters debating and hating the facts. That is still outperforming them all. Player been driving a bitch in a moped. Now I'm performing a car. Everything around me changed for the better. I'm so glad. So I'm singing this song. Days of being a bit of broke ass in the past, right where they belong. Yes. So I gotta give thanks to RH for showing the way. I'm feeding the fam. Used to be dark days when I go to sleep. Now I'm dreaming again. Take a look at my staker app. I continue to win. Yeah. Give thanks to the God that we all ate. TYRH. Hex flexing like all day. Yes. Best investment went all in. Yeah. Whoa. And staking we ballin'. Yeah. Give thanks to the God that we all ate. TYRH. Hex flexing like all day. I cop hex and went all in. Yeah. Whoa. And staking we ballin'. Take a look at my staker app. Long stakes, stay getting fat. In my old days, I be okay. Daily pay me in hex. Instead of hating, you should buy hex. Try stake and be a clever man. T-shares be the money printer. Printing money like the government. Haters is dumb and they never get it. On board them and they go quiet. Daily pay make them see the vision. Those who ball stay real about it. Come forward and they say sorry. Hexicans don't worry about it. We staking hex in the staker app. Meeting up, this is throw parties. Make it rain on the pulse chain. Mainnet come with all copies. All of my hex, yes. All of my ERCs from the PRCs, man, it's gonna be lit.
What a good time.
Awesome video.
That was like a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was so much fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so should we get into it? What do you reckon?
Sure.
Definitely.
We got Whitney magic here. My audio is completely changed after I played that video. Anyway, we'll roll with it. Whitney, can you please tell us about your journey from being an engineer to living off cryptocurrency? What sparked the change and what were some of the challenges and triumphs?
Yes. Hello, ladies. First of all, I'm so delighted to be here. I've been having so much fun just playing with you all virtually and not so. But okay, let me dive on in. So first off, for myself, I felt very much like I was living the normal life. For me, I was living in Washington, D.C. as a construction engineer, had the degree, had the life, had the normalcy. And for me, it felt like I was living someone else's dream. And it just felt very boring. So there was a part within me that it's always been curiosity for me that has really pulled me in other directions. And I feel like a lot of people in our space are pulled in by curiosity, whether that's curiosity of the future, curiosity of possibility, of a brighter world, brighter space. And for me, it started off with the curiosity of what does a dollar really mean to me? And how does this world really work? The engineering mind within me was like, I want to understand the systems. Like, I get that people are telling me like I have to put money into retirement or I have to buy health insurance and certain things, but do I actually need that? Or is that just what they're telling me? And so at the beginning of 2020, I left my corporate engineering life. I left the US and I moved over to Bali. I was not planning on moving to Bali by any means, but I kind of got there and was just like, what is this life? And there are other like expats and nomads and people that are really playing with possibilities and playing with the unknown. And that just stimulated my curiosity even more. So during this time, I still had the curiosity of like, what does a dollar mean to me? And it just so happened to be that when I was at my first meal alone, I ended up running into my friend who was speaking to me about finance and about the future of finance and about the current systems and the flaws, and then started talking about blockchain, all in like very refreshing ways where I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is reality. And it just started to hit all these curiosities within me where I just felt like this like the illumination where I suddenly felt like I was seeing more of the world and things started to make sense in a deeper way that just really had me like lean into crypto in a really heavy way. And at this point I had no plan. I had my retirement fund that was in the traditional system, but I had left my corporate engineering career with less plans than more. And I was like, hey, I'm in the land right now where living expenses are cheap. So now sounds like a really great time. And now that I have like a friend on my hand who turned into my mentor, now's a time that I can really dig into this stuff and create a sabbatical for myself. So I ended up taking the next year, all during 2020, which was perfect, right during COVID times. I actually ended up moving over to New Zealand with my mentor, and we just dove very, very, very heavy into the financial space. Like, he was already in it, but like it just helped me go even deeper into it and really learn how he was starting to see the world. And so I very much got bit by the crypto bug in that sense. And all during 2020, I was like, okay, my portfolio is where it is right now. And I can see how history can create ridiculous possibilities for me. And so I was like in the state of like, okay, show me the right projects and like, we'll see how things go off. You know how the crypto thing goes. We all know we're all in the space. So that was the beginning portion. What is your next part of the question?
So what I was curious about, because you would have been paid, like, I'm assuming, a fair wage as an engineer. Yeah. And then you had, in Bali, you had this really great experience and you wanted to explore cryptocurrency. For most people, they would have, after 2 weeks in Bali, they would have packed their bags and been like, oh, better get back to my normal life and, my 9 to 5 and pay the bills and all that kind of stuff. But you had the balls to go, you know what, I'm actually just going to change my life and I'm going to pursue my passion. And I'm going to find a way to make it work. So what was it about you think that gave you that confidence to make the change, like in real time?
So when I was in the corporate world, I like to say that our like lowest moments, or the things that are like clear no's in our life, they act as fuel. So it's the pain to fuel the high moments. And in the corporate world, I jumped around between the construction engineering, I was staying with my company, but I tried different parts, literally pulled on different hard hats. And all throughout that industry, I just kept looking around. I was like, there is no one here that lives a lifestyle that I admire. None of these people, none of these futures look admirable to me. And I said, I literally cannot go down this route. I understand that this is the only thing that's been given to me. Like, this was the only idea in my mind, was like normalcy, corporate, traditional, receive these things, but nothing about that excited me. And a big red flag for me was like, I was actually struggling with creating like 5-year plans or dreams for myself that fit in the corporate world. And so I was like, I clearly don't belong in this dynamic. There has to be something, and I have to go on my own path and create that and discover that. And so for me, leaving the corporate world was like, it was a must. I didn't come back to the US because I literally was like, well, I have to discover it. Like, either I'm going to discover it in Bali or I'm going to discover it in the US, but the cost of living is cheaper here, and it's also more beautiful, and it's surrounded by truly the people are really what got me. Is like, I think like one powerful thing about community is just like you become who you surround yourself with. And so I knew that if I went back, I would just surround myself with people who were 9 to 5s, who were in the matrix and in the grid. And I wanted to break away from that. So I pulled myself away from it. And I also like to say, there's just like, when certain opportunities come my way, I like really love to lean into the unknown, because I'm like, it wouldn't be given to me if I couldn't handle it. And so there's something about like, I always love playing with more levels of life and revealing that. And the more that I just said, I don't know where this is going to take me, like more synchronicities and more people came into my way to be able to help show me the way. And also I just learned more about myself. And so I built the confidence to get uncomfortable with the unknown, by saying yes to every single unknown. And that was really why I just stuck with cryptos, because I was like, I can see this and I don't really have anything to go back to. Sure, I have my family and friends, but those were all relationships I felt like I had outgrown anyways. So I knew that I needed to level up and change my life and my world. And it really just came back to like, am I going to settle for what I had, or can I create something new?
Love it. And what were some of the challenges and triumphs in that process?
The hardest part was really going against the grain of everyone telling me. It's like, I always like to say that I've had so much love in my life, always. Like, even my family's always been so loving and supportive. And even when they're like, hey, you should really come back to these things, it's all been from love. But I was like, no, you guys don't know what it felt like to be me. And so some of the hardest parts for me were saying, especially I personally have gone through a lot of perfection-like tendencies and people-pleasing tendencies. And so a lot of it was seeing that I'm the oldest of 3 girls. So I also like had the oldest child syndrome or birth order thing within me. And it was seeing that I was going to have to disappoint some people for short term, and then long term, they're going to see it, and I'm going to feel the freedom, and then they're going to thank me for taking the steps and taking the jumps. And my family has been very much seeing that this past year, especially this past week. I was able to go off to my sister's wedding, and like we really had a full week of like downtime together. And now everyone in my world is able to see like, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud that you've taken the jumps. But in the moment, some of the hardest things were being like, I'm doing this and I'm making this decision for myself, and you guys don't have to fully understand it, but I know what I'm doing for me.
I love that story. Thank you for sharing, Whitney. Hodpro and Sammy, do you want to ask Whitney any questions?
So Whitney, that's all. It sounds like an awesome story, and living in Bali sounds beautiful. So in total, how long have you been in Bali for?
Sorry, I'm actually back in the US now. So I
Okay.
was, when I was living abroad between Bali and New Zealand, I was abroad for 2.5 years. And then start of 2022, I was like, there was a little voice inside of me that said, you have to go back to the US. And I was like, I don't want to. But I knew that I had to like reintroduce who I had become and how I see the world. And I had to go back and reintroduce myself to my people, to my family, and understand how I could blend past Whitney into present Whitney, and we could move forward in one way. So I've been back in the US for a little over a year and a half now.
Cool. So are you back to engineering, or you're still your full-time crypto now?
Full-time crypto, and then in teaching as well with crypto. So this has really been my pride and joy.
Awesome.
Cool.
That's really cool.
I think it's good that you did put personal boundaries down with what you wanted, because I think what a lot of people don't realize is if you don't, and you hold resentment against people because you think that they want you to act a certain way, that's taking away from them, because they don't want your resentment. And most people have a very short attention span. They get upset, but you have to have patience with people too, right? When they're upset, like, okay, I'll give you a week or two, and you'll probably be on something else. Your brain will be hooked on something else. And after a while, everybody will be happy because you'll have put your boundary down. They'll know the true you and not the resentful you. So good job for doing all that. That's easier said than done.
Thank you. And one of the best parts about that, all of that, so the resentment is, I can very much see that, and I felt that within myself, but yeah. But one of the things that has been most beautiful to experience over this past year has been how much the change that I've said yes to, of like my independence, my freedom, my confidence, the more that I carry this for myself, the more that I actually encourage and give permission to the people in my life to bring that into their world.
Oh, yeah.
And so like my mom has been one person who like very much took on the mom identity, and like very much felt like married to my dad, literally and physically, of like, we can't separate. And this past month, she ended up doing like a cross-country road trip with me, and in the process, and like spending more time with me. And in the process, she like started to claim back more of her levels of independence. And it was so beautiful for me to experience that within my mom, of like, finally, like she's giving herself the thing that she wants, and she's setting herself free.
He's going to have to cook.
Oh,
Dad's got to cook.
That was the hardest part for him.
The Vienna sausages out of a can, or did he fire up the fire? Did he?
Oh, not the fire. Stop on into the store.
Oh. Awesome.
Does tells this story. He had to have pumpkin soup when his mum went away as a kid. She went away for, I think, 4 or 6 weeks overseas, and so it was with his stepdad. And she'd made this pumpkin soup, like literally little containers, filled the whole freezer. And none of the boys could cook, so they literally had pumpkin soup the entire time. Bread. Oh my God. I think it would inspire you to take the next step, but for them, they did not. Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. This is for everyone. So the origin of this question, I had this dream. I was telling Whitney before the show that I was standing in my house, and it was an area of the house that I didn't use. So, you know, it was a really vivid dream, and there's like a brown leather couch, which I don't have, lots of rooms. And like in the dream, there was this feeling like, this is your house, like, and these are your rooms. And in the dream, I was like, but like, why? Like, I had this like dread, like, why am I not using this part of my house? And I told Doz about my dream, and he was like, that's your unlocked potential. Like, you don't realize you have all this potential you're not using, and your brain's just letting you know. And I was like, oh, and that just kind of like really resonated with me. So I was like, I was already feeling that way. I'm like kind of disappointed. Like, I feel like I'm keeping parts of my brain locked off. And although I have all these like well-defined goals, like I feel like I was just like, you know, not moving from my current, just keeps doing the same thing. So the question to everyone is, do you think you've reached your potential? Are there parts of your brain you keep locked up? How can we think differently to reach the goals we didn't think were possible?
Well, I definitely haven't reached my potential, and I'm getting old. But, you know, with crypto, I'm learning all the time. There's always something new to learn. sometimes I choose to learn the hard way, or maybe not choose, but it just ends up like that, like probably all of us do. But with technology and crypto, there's always something new and exciting to learn. And even though bear markets are long and boring, it's a good time to research and find out about how everything works, timing of the market, getting in, getting out. But we never stop learning. And Clay Doz is probably right about that potential. I mean, you're an amazing person. You're just a mum on steroids, because you do like so many things and you're so good at everything. But so it's like those ads for, but wait, there's more. It's just like you have unlimited potential, and you're a high achiever. So you're never gonna stop doing something new, creative, fun, and you're gonna be good at it. And for me, I'm always learning, always taking new things on board. I know, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, but like when I woke up from this dream, right, like the feelings were like so real, like it was so vivid that like the belief that I had in my dream, it was like lingering about like these extra areas, and the disappointment I had in my own brain, I was like, and it was like this. Yeah, it was the strangest thing. Hodprul and Whitney, do you think you've reached your potential?
I'll begin. Absolutely not. And if I did, then I was like, well, then I've stopped living life. And I believe that life is just like a whole playground. So like the goal is to unlock new levels, and it's limitless in that sense. So I think I'm very much in alignment with myself and with my soul, as I like to refer to. But I definitely have not reached my potential. One thing that I personally have gone through, like with different rabbit holes with this, is for a while I was really obsessed with like trying to understand what my soul's purpose was. And I went around to a whole bundle of different healers and a lot of different intuitives. And like, I learned how to open up different things as well. And I was like, okay, I think I know what my purpose is. And I think I know what my mission is. And then I started to realize, I was like, it actually, none of this matters. Like, I know more about who I am and what I can bring to the world, but I don't know how it's going to play out. And if I did know how it's going to play out, that would make for a pretty boring existence, because there's something so nice about like the spontaneity of like, how is this going to unfold? Who's going to come my way? What opportunities are going to be there? And what's going to bring me into greater presence with life? And so I always like to play with like, when I'm like, I definitely know what you're talking about with like the rooms. I feel that very frequently. And when I do, I have to start asking myself a lot of questions, and I will frequently do it through like curiosity questions is what I like to call it. And I kind of just ask myself question after question after question, and notice how like the questions evolve. And it may start off of something of like, I'm feeling a lot of clutter in my mind. And then it will be like, and then I'm like, where is this coming from? Well, what conversation did I have with my sister? Or how did this present to me? And then notice like question after question after question. I would start to see things through a different lens, and these like questions would help gift me with like different like mental reframes, and to allow like almost the light to be able to shine on my like clouded or dark rooms in my inner world. So personally for me, I like to unlock it through a lot of asking myself questions.
Great answer. Thanks, Whitney. Hodprul, I'm interested in your response here. Do you think you've reached your potential?
I think it's not a weird question, but it's hard to answer because
it's a weird dream and a weird question.
I mean, the definition of potential, right? I am very, very, very bad at directions. Like, I don't know how to get to the grocery store. I've gone there many times, but I couldn't tell you how to get there, or the campus that I went to in the car, or even when I'm on a campus or at school, I don't know like where the restroom is. And depending on the day, it can get worse or better. So for example, yesterday, I knew exactly where the grocery store was. And I know for a lot of people that isn't a big deal, but for somebody who can't I can't figure out where somewhere is in the house that I'm at. It's weird how the brain will pick and choose when it will give you power to do something, right? And I've had dreams of, I guess, potential, but it's more like cognitive overload, if that makes sense. How much can you fit in your brain at once? And they were reoccurring dreams. And I'm not going to get deep into it, but I believe that, and this is a little bit crazy, I think that you can actually unlock an ability to perceive more at once to the detriment of your sanity. I really do. And one of these things visually is if you go to Michael's or anywhere with, Christmas ornaments or something like that, and you look at the glitter, and you can only perceive so much of the glitter in on the light. Like how much of this is hitting my consciousness? How much of this can I quantify? And you can actually kind of train your brain to perceive more of it at once. But
yeah, I feel that.
Kind of in a trance-like state. So potential as in short-term memory, I think that can actually be, that muscle can be flexed in some ways depending on what you want to perceive. Is potential as far as career-wise, where you want to be in life. I think wisdom helps that. I think knowing when to say no, that's a big thing with not that your whole entire journey is how to say no to people, but it's figuring out who you are and where you want to go has a lot to do with cutting stuff off rather than turning stuff on. You know where to trim your branches, you know where to streamline your goal, right? And so it does depend on the definition of potential. But yeah, you can.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with your answer. Like for me, one of the things that obviously limits my potential is time. We have 24 hours in a day. I don't need that much sleep. I don't sleep that much anyway. Like I might sleep like 4 hours a night. But if I get less than
or anything else,
sleep faster, you'll get more done. That's what Ani says. But if I sleep 5 hours a night on average, I'm a normal person. If I sleep 4 hours a night on average, I'm not a normal person. I'm emotionally labile and I have to put myself to bed, literally like a child that has a tantrum and then just like goes on the floor and cries, like, and that's from a lack of sleep. So I think number one, like we are limited by the hours in the day or what our bodies or what we perceive we can cope with in terms of sleep deprivation. So I feel like that kind of is a factor. And in order to be consistent, I have to sleep 5 hours a night, and that's how I can manage doing lots of things. And I think a lot of it, I have become good at multitasking. I can have different streams of my life and I can be quite hyper focused or fixated within each of those streams, maybe 4 or 5 streams. But yeah, I think the interesting thing is like you might get into a rhythm where you keep doing the same thing, like you're in the same streams, going for the same goal within the stream, thinking that's what you want, when actually like sometimes you need like a circuit breaker and go, actually, like stream 1, 2, and 3, I don't give like a fuck about. I actually want stream 4, but you're so busy caught up maintaining the 4 streams that you don't actually know that you should be cutting some out, if that kind of makes sense.
I have an idea, Claus. I think that he's just on the live stream, but I mean, I think for someone like you, people like to listen to you and you're very smart. You have a lot of things to offer people, so you can delegate some of this stuff out to others if you wanted to. Stuff that you would normally think, I'm Claus, I'm strong enough and smart enough to do all of this. And unfortunately, sometimes when you are, you know it and you won't. And I'm not saying for you in, necessarily, but I could see someone in your position who can do so many different things, who can think about so many things at once, perhaps not utilizing the people around you to do tasks that are easy for you. And so you can spend your time doing more complicated things that people perhaps wouldn't have the skill set to manage.
Yeah, no, that's a good suggestion, and I will think on that. I think part of the unlock room things is you don't know what you don't know. So part of my brain worries that like what I don't know, I don't know. So like if I'm pursuing these like definite goals, and a couple of them I'm so certain of crypto, I'm so certain of my art, but then these other areas of my life like medicine, where like obviously the reward is financial, and there's some practical part of that I have to keep going and support the family. But then like, what about the other doors that I don't know what's behind those other doors? And if I don't know what's behind it, then how do you go about unlocking it? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, well, okay, you had that dream, so subconsciously you must know.
Oh yeah, so you got to ask the questions.
You do know what's behind the doors. It's just leading your conscious mind to come to
it's just ask the questions. And maybe like Whitney was alluding to, like making some decisions that might not be necessarily easy to make. We had this conversation in my art class yesterday, right? There's this place we all want to go, and it's in Florence Academy of Art, and essentially it's like the world's best, like the masters in figurative painting like teach there. It has the world's best program. So from our point of view, we all want to get there. And my art teacher, she's retirement age now, she is a master artist in Perth, and she can't go to Florence and do the course because her husband doesn't want to leave Australia. And so for her, one of her students joined the course, and the artwork that he's producing is now better than her artwork. And she just had this moment where like, he was my student, now he's gone there, his artwork is better than mine, and I can't go there. And we all said to her, like, if you went there, your artwork would be better than his. And she's like, yes, I know, but I can't leave the country because my husband won't leave the country. And that's her door, that's her like her block. So I think for her, like the solution for everyone around her is quite simple. Like if you go, he'll just follow you, just do it. Like, but for her, that's her door and she's not going to open it, which for me is like kind of disappointing because like she's my art mentor and I want to see what she's capable of and for her to get recognition. And the only way that's going to happen is it's not going to be in Australia with fine art. So yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to the next question. But that was a real selfish question. Whitney. Yeah.
Wait, I want to build upon this because I think this is we're on a really good topic. I mean, I could go on about 10 more rabbit holes within this, but because I think a lot of this is about how like we navigate the change and unknown in our life and getting a little bit more comfortable with that. But in particular, one question I want to build upon this is, okay, so we have our rooms. We have our rooms in our house, but how do we expand our house? So like expanding the house is expanding our vision. What do you guys do? Because this is one thing that I've been working through for myself is like crypto is one great way that we constantly like, we have to expand our vision because our reality literally changes. But I've been trying to ask my vision in my dreams to expand themselves before reality hits. And I've been asking people to come into my world or possibilities, but I still find my mind still stays a little bit limited. So is there anything in particular that you guys do to help expand your dreams and the visions for yourself?
That's a good question. Sammy, what do you do to answer Whitney's question?
Yeah, so I guess that comes down to, mindfulness, which, I think that's sort of like what we're talking about on the show. And I think focusing on breaking down barriers, whether they be physical, emotional, spiritual. So when you're setting a goal in your mind or you want to expand something, you got to break down barriers that may be holding you back from doing that. And by even thinking that, you're giving your mind the power to do that. I guess that's one way of looking at it.
I think like we all have fixed patterns of thought and beliefs about ourselves, whether we like it or not. So maybe like making the effort of just for 20 minutes writing down your beliefs about yourself. So you could say, oh, these are the good things about myself. These are the things that I think are to do with me. They're not good, they're not bad. And then these are the things that I think are bad about myself. And then like take it a step further and go, oh, is there any connection between the bad things or the good things? Like what's at the core of these things that I believe about myself? And if you keep going through that cycle, like deeper in the rabbit hole, thinking like that, then the actual core underlying belief that's driving a lot of your actions might not actually be true, or you might not be aware of what that driver is. And once you have like put it down literally, you're like, oh, then you can talk yourself through, well, is that actually true or not? And maybe get some outside people to give their opinion. And by outside people, I would be extremely careful about who you choose, because I'm a believer in I make my own destiny. And if there's one person in the world that I trust, it's myself. So if you're going to invite an outside person to have a perspective on your life, you better make sure that person, you trust them. And most people might not have that person. Or they do, but just be aware that you're the number one person, and you might filter what this other person has to say. So that person should know you for an extremely long amount of time, from your childhood. So probably should be someone from your family, like your parents or your brothers or your sisters, or someone that has seen you through all the spectrum of your whole life. But yeah, that's how I would sort of think about things.
I love that. Hadpro,
All right, ladies, we're doing pretty well here. Getting deep. We've got a couple of more questions that are kind of like, I would say this stream in general is like, it's pretty cool. Like, it's not, to do with crypto, but towards the end, we're just going to fire crypto stuff at the audience, because I know they love that stuff too. So we got a couple more. We'll just do a couple more quick questions about ways of thinking, and then we're just going to start like smashing some crypto stuff, just so that we can feel like we can smash that in, because we love crypto. So the next question is, and we've kind of like answered this question partially, how do you stay mentally healthy to deal with volatility in crypto? How do we develop resolve but remain flexible?
I'll go. I don't mind a bear market, because I've been in bear markets before, and for a long time, sometimes not that long, sometimes longer. And there are a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities to, even if you're not dumping tons of fiat into accumulating, you can find out ways to be a part of pools where people are maybe getting out. People are kind of losing faith if they don't understand the entire system of something. Getting into people's new projects. A lot of people work on projects during a bear, because during the bull, they're just freaking out and doing cocaine and whatever they buy stuff. They kind of degen, but like there's a different sort of hustle that happens during a bear. And sometimes if you just lurk instead of throw all of your fiat into something, throwing some fiat into it is okay if you have faith in it. But I don't know, there's a certain excitement in the bear, because you have the opportunity again to be a part of something brand new. And I mean, for example, Mintra just launched. That's kind of cool. Liquid loans and, well, the fetch and all that stuff needs to go before, I think liquid loans in Power City. But I mean, how much of that was designed in really a bear? Much of it. A lot of other little meme coins have been made in a bear. Things that people who have left because it's not pumping are not seeing. So when the money does come back into here, especially since we're really based on Pulse itself, and they have, like, due to the way that liquidity is kind of set up, that can pump more in a more volatile way beyond the, after the bridge. I think that it's good to pay attention during the bear to just what's going on. Even if you don't go all in, you'll be better off for it.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about sticking around when you feel uncomfortable. And for the bear's obviously pretty long, right? Like years. And you might not be feeling comfortable in that time about your investments, because obviously it's a bear market. They're not doing great. And there's a couple of options. Like, you can just leave and come back like 2-3 years later. But you would miss out on opportunity. You would miss out on a whole heap of education. And there's something to be said about like your most difficult goals in life, they're going to feel really uncomfortable because there's going to be a long period with the really hard goals that you don't know which way it's going to go. But you have to maintain this supremely high belief in it, although you don't know the outcome. So for instance, like when I was doing my specialty training for emergency medicine, the specialty training goes so you're a doctor, that takes 6 years, and then you go into the hospital system for a few years, and then you go into specialty training, which takes 5 or 6 years on top of that. And so when you hit the latter end of the specialty training, you go for the big exams, which take a year or two to get through. And you don't know the outcome, and each day is like a bit of torture because you spend like 4 hours a day studying, you don't know the outcome of your exam, and you're punishing the people around you, your family, by your absence and your pursuit to pass your exam. And so you're dealing with this feeling of uncomfort, being uncomfortable because you're studying 4 hours a day in your spare time while not knowing the outcome of something. Same with crypto, say like pulsechain. We don't know the outcome of the SEC case. We don't know how pulsechain is going to go in the bull. And yet we all, I would say, have like an extremely high belief that it is going to do well. And we maintain that belief while feeling supremely uncomfortable very uncomfortable for a long period of time in the bear, or at least a little bit uncomfortable. And I think there's something to be said about in life, I think there may be some people that when they get that feeling of, I don't feel comfortable, then they might be reactive to it, a little bit too reactive. I'm going to change my whole life because I don't want to feel uncomfortable. But if your resolve is such that you still want to have that resolve, like nothing has changed about the outcome that you want, then sometimes over a long period of time with a really big goal, and for me, pulsechain doing really well in the bull has been a big goal because it's been going on for years, right? So you need to learn every day that you might feel a little bit uncomfortable about something, and you have to sit with it. And that's all there is to it.
Absolutely. And we got a good point. Over a bear, they're grueling to some like me, but not to you. And there is different hustles, and you get to learn cool stuff. This is my second bear market, and it's been pretty absolute shitty. But to be honest, I found things to do. Went to the Vegas meetup last September, Sydney meetup just last weekend. Traveled a little bit, which is really, I think you got to shift your mind away from looking at prices. Because if you look at those prices, it's a negative repetitive routine, and it's not healthy for anyone. But that's why I think Hex is so great over a bear market, because even though the prices going down, you're still earning that interest. And pulsechain has been good as well during the bear, even though it's taken so long, because it's kept us interested. And a lot of people have left, and Twitter's boring because there's still not as many people as what there was over the bull. A lot of people have gone missing, but it's kind of like brought excitement to crypto again over a bear market. I think that's what we need. And I think we should be looking for ways to bring more excitement over the bear and more ways to make money over a bear, because liquidity providing is one, but there's a lot of pump and dumps, a lot of scams. It's quite boring. So maybe they'll invent something new. What did they do in the stock market? They invented shorting, didn't they, when over the bear market, which people got into. And that, I don't know what else they can invent, but I think they need to invent something because they're so boring.
I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of Hod Pearl and Sammy. And actually, Steve, in the comment section, he just said a bear market can be educational. And that's, for myself, I got in last bear cycle. And that's when I did my sabbatical of like, hey, I want to understand the nitty and gritty. And now in this cycle, I'm still like, it's educational for me for building my projects, but then also educational specifically for getting my people in. And so I'm passionate about being in my projects of like teaching people and having people understand and seeing really investing in crypto through more of like a long-term mindset and understanding like, let's spot what innovation is, like what's a movement, because we're building a movement here. We're not building just watching a stock go up. We're shifting the financial system and how people interact with the world and interact with their enjoyment and how they spend money and where they put their energy. And so the education piece for me is like number one. I'm like, in a bear market, the way that we maintain volatility is by first setting up a really strong foundation. Just like with any house, you need a strong foundation. If you just go straight into crypto, you're going to get, something's going to be wobbly in the process. And a strong foundation is what it takes to be able to build long-term lasting wealth, which is also how your family will benefit and you'll be able to enjoy more of your life. So for me, it all goes back to mindset work, which is entirely what we're doing here. And we all get this, is like, I love the, like, just buy value in the bear market. Don't get caught up in the sparkliness. You can go off and do your research and have fun, and you can have a certain allocation for it, but ultimately keep your portfolio grounded in value. The pulsex, at least for me, that's my belief. And then if you want to put anything else in more strong value, then great. But that's my belief around the volatility in the bear market. And I frequently also like to ask myself, when there's volatility, what has changed here? And that simple thing, that question for me is like gut checking my emotions, because if I ask like what's actually changed, it brings me back to the objective, into facts rather than feelings. And I can be like, oh, this is my feeling versus this is what has actually changed in the market these days.
Nice one. That brings me into my next question. How do we use our intellectual knowledge and intuition to help us with our investment choices in crypto? How do we like weave in intuition without ignoring the facts?
Oh my God, I love this one so much.
I stole it from the wording you used in the heartbeat stream. So
oh my God.
It's actually from you.
Okay, good. In particular, this is something, I'll just kick it off. This is something that I'm super passionate about. And with my framework, the way that I deal with investing is I teach people how to work with their intuition, because the people in my world are very intuitive, and that's how they're led most of the way. And that's why they even get the intuition of like, hey, I have to buy crypto. And I find that intuition is first a nudge, and it's like saying, hey, look at this. And then you have to infuse a little bit more curiosity and more questions to actually understand what the intuition is telling you. Because it could tell you, we'll use an extreme case, could tell you, go like jump off the bridge. But really what the intuition could be saying is you need to walk to the bridge, and then you're going to find someone who will give you an answer. But it's not telling you to actually jump off the bridge. And so I find the same thing happens with crypto, is if you're getting a nudge to buy, it might not be saying don't just buy crypto, but what do you have to, like, what are you buying? When are you buying? And so it's like we have to explore the intuition a little bit more. And a lot of that comes by having more educational frameworks and asking better questions. And
You're so right, Whitney. And I think you're so spot on. You know, it all connects back to that mindfulness and intuition. Because crypto is a game of intuition. If you pick the right choices, you can win the game and become very wealthy. And I believe it all comes back to being mindful, making good decisions, being at peace with yourself and everything around you, and able to make that clear pathway for yourself.
I have two different intuitions, and then I have the fact spot in my head, right? One of that is trying to adopt the intuition of most users, or the mode of users. What are they feeling? What do you think they're going to do? Because the reality is if you're not, you're parking your money in a crypto. If you're looking to take out more than you put in, then you have to outsmart some other users. Sure. If you're just putting in, the way Hex is set up is nice, because you're not really screwing anybody over. If you have more than you started out with, you're actually doing what you said you would. And that's a fair way to come out ahead. It's not a scamming way. It's actually one of the most morally sound ways to deal with crypto and be a part of it. But when it comes to things like volatility, if you're into it, any sort of degenning, you have an intuition of the average user on the chain. And then you have your own intuition, which is that plus your wisdom and how you could maybe front run their moves. And then you have something like, I guess it's akin to let's say you were to look into the hedron system hardcore and understand how you could leverage or arbitrage certain things, how you could move from maybe Ethereum to the pulse chain in the future, or like HSIs, that sort of things where that the average user isn't going to be aware of. I don't know if that's the correct way to say it, but if a system's kind of complicated, most people are not going to look into it and they want to be told how to do stuff. Use that to your advantage. File that away in your facts. Then have your intuition, and then have their intuition. Use all three of those and then decide what you want to do. Because if you just use your intuition, you don't see that as being different from the intuition with other users. You're just going to follow the trend.
Yes.
Good answer. Yeah, I use, like in medicine, I used to use my intuition a bit too much. I used to hear a short story, triage note, and I'd already be fixated on the outcome. I was thinking of the end before I'd even seen the patient. And then somebody a mentor pointed this out to me. And at the same time, I was going through a phase of steep learning curve, like increasing high level knowledge. And what I found was that the way that I can use my intuition is during the process of adding facts together. Like I might be categorizing different things into different groups as I see a patient. I can use my intuition to add a group, but I can't use my intuition to take away a group that I have formed through my knowledge. So the way that I use my intuition at work is that I allow it to add on during like a discovery phase. And then during like a synthesis phase or a consolidation phase where you have to think, this is the most likely thing that I think is going on and this is the course of action that I've chosen. Again, the intuition for me has to come secondary to the objective knowledge. But I think the intuition over time, when there's an extreme amount of knowledge, becomes more wisdom and gestalt, and that you can trust freely. But if you're trying to use intuition up front without extreme knowledge or experience, that's very dangerous. You can use it during a discovery phase to add on, but then in an end game, you need to use your wisdom or your gestalt, which then your wisdom and your gestalt, it's kind of like all of that intuition you had over an extreme amount of time combined with your knowledge becomes then your wisdom and your gestalt, which you should trust freely and with confidence. So it's like, I think it's like a thing that's learned over time, how you form your thoughts and how you consolidate your knowledge and you need to kind of be mindful, like when you're making massive decisions, what are you basing your final decision on? It, in the very least, needs to be, I think, a lot of facts. But then over time, if you're very experienced, you can use gestalt wisdom, and you can call that intuition, and that you should trust. You should trust that a lot as well. Does that kind of make sense? Like, I think there's two forms, like you were just saying, Hodpro, of intuition. Yeah. One might just be a reactive, straight up thing, but the other one is actually more of your gestalt and your wisdom, which would be like the second form of intuition, which you should very strongly trust, and you should not be shakeable from that point of view. But the one that you form out of a reaction, you can just that one you can add into your repertoire of different things. But
definitely. That kind of I guess I'll define real quick the three that I'm thinking of. The intuition of a user is straight up. You kind of have to do some research in that you go to Twitter, you go to Telegram. What is everybody saying? What's the general consensus? That's their intuition. And I think like someone's personal intuition is all of the facts that you've learned plus their intuition, plus your natural state of being. Like your intuition is different than their intuition. And then the facts are things that you are not part of your pattern yet, that you have to look up that day or that week, that aren't yet part of your intuition because they have not been solidified in your wisdom. that you just, okay, what's happening this week? What's happening in China? What's happening in Russia? That can't be a part of your intuition yet because it hasn't happened. But all of the things pertain, all of that searching you've done up until then does become part of your intuition. So it's like long-term memory versus short-term memory, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. But
yeah, good point.
Good stuff.
Hod Pearl, one of the other parts of intuition that you were talking about, like I like to call like the group one, I like to call that more of collective consciousness. I don't know if that's the same thing.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, it's so helpful when we can take ourselves out of the matrix or like see the system and then be like, this is how people respond to it. And how can I be ahead of their reaction to it?
Yeah.
Love it.
That's what it is.
So what we might do now is segue into our own chain, which is pulsechain for most of us, and just like talk about some crypto stuff. But yeah, I like that segment about we just explored our own thoughts around crypto. I think it's important. So thanks for participating in that. All right, so the next bit is about the SEC. And how you guys are dealing with the uncertainty about the SEC case that's coming up. I think there's an initial discovery phase date, and then there's the actual hearing date where everything that both sides have discovered is laid out, and then sort of like a decision or a communication going forward is made about how the case will or won't proceed. So, how are you ladies thinking about this?
Well, you and Hogpool know I was pretty worried about it, and we've had discussions, and I find it very comforting to hear your opinion, and being that you're both really intelligent people, have a good knowledge of crypto. You gave rational facts and also gave support, which I really appreciated. I mean, not that I'm preparing for Armageddon, and keeping in mind that it's only a civil case. It's they've still got to prove all these things, charges against Richard R. or Hexpulse, to move forward with the proceedings. So to me, I think, we're going in with this really smart man, Richard, who can afford the world's biggest diamond, so he can afford the world's best SEC lawyers. He's very smart. And, what we've seen with Ripple dropping the cases against, with the SEC dropping the cases against Ripple, and, the SEC are losing. And now Elon Musk wanting to, what is he doing?
He's collaborating with a billionaire. I can't remember the billionaire's name. And I don't know what their first goal is to do with the SEC. But obviously I think maybe they're something to do with their jurisdiction or the way that they're operating within the wider political system,
So they're basically targeting their corruption. Let me just get it up, because in America,
I think they want a commission, like an equivalent of like a royal commission that we would have in Australia. I think that was the vibe that I've kind of seen.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it, because they call it something else over here. Oh, here it is. So Elon Musk and Mark Cuban filed joint amicus brief at the Supreme Court, which in Australia, our Supreme Court is the highest court you can go. I don't know if it's like that in America.
Yeah, it is.
And they're calling for an overhaul of the SEC's proceedings. And I've read another article basically pointing out that they're corrupt. Elon Musk is always getting sued and stuff. But this is also good for us, good for crypto, it's good for us. And it's basically in the support. We can all see what's happening. We know what they're doing. And I hope that these actions that these people are taking are going to make a difference, especially to us hexagons and pulsicans who have been in this system, watching our founder get gagged, and watching Price take a shit. And hopefully we see, a really good outcome. I'm hoping for one. We need one. We need to have a good time, big party. That's my thoughts on it.
Absolutely. So my attitude around it has been like a long-term goal. The long-term goal has never changed. You don't know the outcome. It's like an exam. You're going to pass or fail, and we don't know how the market will react to the case. And we don't know if that reactivity just post the case, that doesn't necessarily mean how the market's going to act, in the months following whatever happens around the case. So for me, the case is not going to particularly change how I'm going to act. Like judging on the price action yesterday, I've actually changed my narrative a bit from my previous streams. So I think I was talking about a Head and Shoulders, and this, BTC is going to crash down after this bull trap, but it's all actually broken through, surprisingly enough, like despite everything that's happening in the world, Palestine and Israel, BTC is pumping, right? So I think that the world is kind of taking crypto as more of a flight to safety, which is not what I would have predicted. I would have thought like, if the stock market crashes, then crypto crashes and altcoins crash. But actually, from what I'm seeing in the price action, and this is based on watching the price action quite closely, BTC is behaving in an opposite manner as a flight to safety, which is for me bullish on altcoins. So yesterday I made a post with a bull, and I'm in my buy zone officially as of yesterday. So, and because I said, like, pulsechain has to like test and retest this 4 zeros, 4-6 mark, and it's broken through, and like the numbers don't lie, like, and so like, and actually like my narratives were like not playing out, and so like, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but yeah, I'm in my buy zone. I'll probably be there until January, and yeah, I'm just ready to sit and commit, basically.
Cool.
That's it.
Well, Bitcoin did hit 30K yesterday. I don't know what the catalyst was. I think that just took everything with it, which is a really good sign.
It was that Ivan on Tech. I was going to bed one night, and he tweeted. He was like, "Oh, the Bitcoin spot ETF is approved," and then within that spike happened in the market. So like within, the next 10 minutes, BTC went to 30K, and 10 minutes later, everyone was like, "Oh no, it's like it's not true, it's not true, it's not true," and then it just went straight back down. That was everyone, like Cointelegraph had to issue like a public apology because they followed suit, and heaps of people like they love Ivan. I don't know if Ivan is the one that started it, but it's funny if he was, because like Ivan, you've caused like this spike in a candle. Like that's like the Ivan spike. That would be cool if it was him. I love Ivan on Tech, by the way. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people on the side that are like ready to start pouring in. Like you get that sense, right? And eHex, like the price action on eHex has been like going a bit like nuts, eh?
Yeah, it's all.
What is it up? What percent is it up today? Let's see. It's pretty crazy.
It's so cool to see it reach 100, over 100% for the week. Yeah. I don't know what it's up today, but
I think it was yesterday. I looked about 105%. It was up, which is fantastic. And Ethereum Hex is even getting up, which is also amazing. So many people sold off their Ethereum Hex, so maybe they're going to start regretting it now, because we've seen what Bitcoin went up. Now both hexes are just conveniently going up. What happens in a bull run?
Plus 47.71% on the eHex.
Wow.
Oh.
And it was more earlier too. And not to mention, a lot of people on especially the EX side, there have been some rolling stake big players that have lost interest due to the bear, and the stakes are not necessarily rolling so hard now. And some people have been getting out of the eHex, and the payouts have been a little more on the eHex side. So if that pumps, ultimately, what does that mean? That means every single increase on our eHex payout, if our hex is staked, is worth that much more. And that's why I say it's like being paid in empty treasure chests that can fill with gold once a bear hits. You've been making that increased amount per T-share that the entire time, if you haven't lost faith. So
love it.
Yeah,
I love check it out. I haven't looked at it for a while. Go pulse.
Yeah, I love it too. People are going to regret
see what's going
so
on
badly.
there. I might have more hex than I thought.
Oh, it's pumping today. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, everything's popping today.
Yeah.
Sick. Okay, here's one. What do you guys see as the future of pulsechain?
It's number 9 at the moment. Let me double check that on Deck Screener. I think we need to make it special. We need the glitter. We need to make it stand out. There's so many chains that you can transact cheaply. I'm not saying they're all great, like some have had their exploits and stuff, but we're sitting at the number 9 in volume now. But people are building, we've got stuff coming out, but I think we need more, and we need to make it special.
I am so not concerned. I'm not concerned about the SEC stuff, and I'm also super not concerned about where necessarily we're growing. For me, I like to take a look at just like what we have fact-wise. We have technology-wise a system that works awesome, amazingly. So that has capabilities to grow upon exponentially. We have a community that is passionate and education-based, and like there's so many layers to the community, but essentially there's enough builders within the space and there's enough creators. And then if ever Richard does come back on, we have that as well. And even having the SEC case there as well actually acts, I believe, in our favor for when the time does come, that we will be the ones overall benefiting and cleaning up the whole crypto system. And that's kind of been what we and Richard, or this is what Richard has always stood for, is he's wanted to clean up the scammers, innovate the space, and now he's also cleaning up the regulation to allow more future growth. And so I see that there's an infinite amount of possibilities. And now it's a matter of like, well, who are the people? What is the energy that is going to shift into there? And what are the people going to vote for that will take off? And how will this get implemented? Like a lot of our conversation has been about like, we'll never know the how, and that's fine. But what we are doing is we're investing in the whole system, being like, this has so much growth potential. It doesn't matter how things take off. We just know that it will. And we don't know when it will, but that's why we're here with the long-term game.
Love it. Hard Pro.
Okay. I think that first of all, there's the SEC stuff, right? Where, we kind of have to wait out. We don't really have to, but as far as people being interested more and people rushing toward this, and there being more options for farming and things moving forward, it would be really good if the SEC finally oh, she's so cute. Sorry, I got derailed.
We love.
We normally don't take her out on a stream, but she snuck out of bed.
Oh.
She's a star.
Hi, beautiful.
Sorry.
Oh, what a cute
going.
baby!
Then we'll wrap up.
Okay. And anyway, I think accessibility is a big part of it, right? There are some things that Richard and team can't do until they deal with this case, I believe. I think it's good for them that they're waiting it out and waiting for Elon, Ben Armstrong, everybody else to deal with the SEC first. Because, I read some of that. I don't know. I don't know what I read. I'm just saying that, yeah, he should deal with that. And then it'll be really nice if we have stable coins on pulsechain, and we will with Liquid Loans USDL. It's PXDC, I believe, is the Power City one. Coast is doing stuff. I know Wrap DAI has kind of become our stable of choice. But I think a big thing is, I'll give an example. Mintra launched, right? Oh my God, Mintra's here. People didn't know the exact date when it was going to launch, so they wanted to go in and obviously, when it immediately launched, there was low liquidity. And I remember some people DMing me like, I want to get into it. Oh, but I don't want to give up my pulse right now, but I want to get more pulse. But it's going to take me forever because I have to go to Coinbase, whatever, get Ethereum, then send that Ethereum through the bridge and then wait. And as soon as that Ethereum's there, as soon as the pulse is there, then I could finally, maybe go into Mintra. And how long is that going to take from bank to, finally the potential coming to fruition on the pulse chain as pulse, right? I think that the more we can do to connect Ethereum to pulse, the easier the onboarding will be. we can go to PulseX and people be excited about ink, excited about farming. There will be easier ways for people to get into it. And I think a stable will be a big proponent of the ease of use. So a few things. I think they're coming together, though. I see it on the horizon.
The user experience is something I'm really excited for as well.
Yeah.
And especially when I'm dealing with anyone who's new into crypto and they're like, this many steps, who else is going to be buying it? I'm like, guys, don't worry. We're like benefiting with cost right now with the price, because you will buy at this point.
They used to have to go to a Magic the Gathering trading forum to get Bitcoin. People will find a way. They see that price go up, they'll do it.
Yep.
Ladies, this has been an awesome stream. Final question. What does the future hold for you? Very generic question, I know. So
what's the time frame? Death.
Time frame is death.
No, future holds. Oh, we're gonna hit a bull eventually. I think in 2024, 2025 is when I think it's going to happen. But we might have some pumps in the interim. April has the Bitcoin happening. We'll see what happens there. Obviously, there's a U.S. election that always gets obfuscates reality a little bit for that entire year. So that could come as a bonus for us. But I'm looking forward to 2024, 2025 personally for crypto. So good stuff.
For myself, I personally am most excited. Like, I've been getting so much energy with not only like sharing, being more present online as well, like in this sense, but I've been getting the most amount of passion from seeing other women really entering this space and taking ownership of their finances and seeing that it's not as complicated as the boys' world necessarily makes it. So for myself, I am excited and thrilled. Even if I just want to look at the next quarter, I feel like there's a lot of women that are going to be entering the space, and just understanding Pulse, understanding crypto, understanding the movement that's going on, and seeing through the darkness, like the old systems that we've outgrown, and then being able to shift their relationship to possibility and money and setting themselves free. So I'm really excited for the women.
I love that. Thanks, Whitney. So Sammy, the last question is, what does the future hold for you? Can be crypto or non-crypto.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love crypto and I love all the ladies, that I've met, and on the street I've met some wonderful friends. And, I think that for me, like, I've been on social media, I've been out there, and even though I've enjoyed parts of it, but also really not enjoyed other parts of it. And you probably know what I'm talking about in respect to that community and stuff. And I think for me, I'm going to be focusing more on the learning and the research and moving forward with crypto itself rather than focus on social media presence, because I think for me, I know it's a bit of I don't know, I think if I had to focus more on crypto in the last bull run, I would have done a bit better. But we were having a great time in the Hex community, doing all this cool stuff, streaming with Richard Hart, and having a great time. But I think for me, I've learned that I've got to stay focused. So that's what I plan to do to get ready for the next bull run. And yeah, I just want to see everyone win, like you, Whitney. Like, it's great to see women coming into crypto, and I love meeting new women coming in, and they always offer so much. And I find them, the boys are awesome, love you guys, but for me, being a woman, I can totally relate to other women really well, and find that their opinions and their thoughts on crypto especially are very valuable. And I really appreciate that. So for me, just staying focused, and because this bull run, I want to win. I don't want to get left behind being busy, on social media, wasting my time. So, yeah.
Yeah, my answer is like pretty similar to yours, Sammy. Like, I need to keep tuned in, but at the same time, maybe like direct a lot more of my mental energy into other projects. So that's why I like it's great to see Whitney come through, and I look forward to, as time goes on, there's always these new phase of streamers, and I can already kind of see that kind of happening. So I look forward to like watching that kind of, or the new people kind of evolve and see what they're going to do and how they're going to take hold of the space, and then maybe like branch into like slightly maybe different role with streaming, like more support roles. And yeah, just so that I can have that focus on the other doors that I don't know what's behind, if that kind of makes sense. But I think it's extremely important to keep tuned in, like you said, Sammy, and obviously trying to make sure that we remain focused for our goal this cycle and to do well this cycle. It's really important to me. So with that, I think that's the end of the stream. Thank you all so much. I found this stream to be really valuable. So we'll just go around, and if you just tell the people where they can find you. Whitney.
I have just launched my YouTube, and which will soon be podcast as well, and that is on Whitney_magic on YouTube, and you can also find me on Twitter there. And if you play on Instagram, you can find me at Whitney Magic Crypto. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. Hodpearl.
I am Hodpearl on Telegram and Hodpearl on Twitter.
Love it. Sammy.
I'm at Sammy Chica on all across the board, Telegram, Twitter, TikTok. I think I'm Sammy Chica Hex on TikTok. And also we're doing Ladies Discourse on the Discord Syndicate next Friday night. And you ladies all invited. We're going to have a Halloween special. So if you want to dress up, and we'll just be talking casual crypto chat, and I'll put it out there.
That'll be fun.
Love it. That would be so much fun. Yeah, if I'm not working, I'll be there. Thanks, chat. Yeah, appreciated the stream. Thank you, special guest Whitney, Hodpearl, Sammy, and Raquel that popped in. I think it's been a great stream, and I'm going to rewatch parts of it and take some notes as well, unlock some doors, and yeah, thanks for coming on, ladies. Have a great day.
Thanks for having us. Good to meet you. Bye, Hodpearl.